Sure.
Recording in progress. Okay, so welcome to another Power Lunch. This is an episode in the 1000 Conversations About Our Future series that is part of the Ithaca Green New Deal. And we are encouraging everybody to have a conversation about the future of Ithaca and how the Green New Deal can actually make our lives better, everyone's lives better, and create the community that we've all been wanting. So I'm Ann Rhodes. I'm pitching in for Rebecca Evans because she had another appointment that she had to go to. And since this is recorded and going to be uploaded to YouTube after the fact, there won't be a chat function. There won't be a way for you to ask questions. But we will record it. We are recording it and we will upload it to YouTube as soon as we're done. So today we're talking about a timely and concerning topic that's actually pretty relevant to the city of Ithaca's decarbonization plan. And that's the impending rules restricting opt-out community solar projects in New York State. So I will let our guest, Jessica Stombach, explain what that means. Jessica, welcome. So glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Introduce yourself and we can launch.
Sure. So my name is Jessica Stombach. I'm the CEO of Joule Assets, and Joule Assets is a something called a community choice aggregator administrator. We work with municipalities looking to really enable them to achieve their sustainability goals, and to do so in not only to sustain the goals, but also to do so through social justice. So whenever it's possible to do so, we explicitly create business models that are designed to benefit the entire society rather than only one segment.
Cool. And did you ever imagine that you would end up doing this kind of work?
No.
What was your path to this?
Oh my goodness. So my path is a really different path. So my path is moving to Finland as a 20-year-old, newly married American young woman, having 2 children, being unable to find work. I think one of the reasons that I have such a strong passion for using our business model to enable others to better themselves is because I was unemployed for 9 years, because I lived in a country that didn't want to make it easy for foreigners to find jobs. So I had the experience of being turned down as a nighttime cleaning lady because I wasn't qualified. And once I realized that I also wasn't qualified to be a nighttime cleaning lady, I figured I better start my own business, because otherwise I was going to be unemployed forever. And so I did. I took a course with refugees. So it was me and Vietnamese and Serbian refugees, women. And they taught us how to become part of society. I saw examples of people who had started their own businesses, and the picture of, you can do this as a foreigner. It's not completely stuck. Gave me a vision that there would be a path forward for me, which after 9 years, you begin to really wonder if there's going to be, right?
Yep.
So I started a business. I started a tile making business as a potter.
That doesn't lead to this, Jessica.
For 5 years, got sick of it, went to university. At that point, they'd opened the university to foreigners. I went to university, got hired in a consultancy that did energy efficiency work, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a kind of a long story, but there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, what a good path. I'm glad you ended up here.
Yeah, I am too. And I'm glad I had the entire range of history so that I've lived different types of experiences.
I think that makes a huge difference for people to have experienced poverty and made it out of it.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, my husband had a job, so that was good. So it wasn't, we weren't poverty stricken, but I just wasn't able to. It just wasn't. The society wasn't open to foreigners, so you just couldn't join it.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you landed where you landed
from scratch.
Yep. So this whole issue that the Public Service Commission is proposing these new rules, I think it's important for people to understand that there are programs that can be initiated in two different ways. One is that we have this program, and if you want to join, you can join. And that's the opt-in. If you're interested, you can take part. And what happens with an opt-in situation is that people who are more connected to these issues, who are more tuned into the climate crisis, will be more likely, or who have more money will be more likely to opt in. The other option is an opt-out system where the municipality sets it up so that every resident is covered. And if you don't want to be there, you can opt out. You can opt out. In both cases, the municipality has to do a lot of outreach and education so that people understand either how to opt in or how to opt out. So those are the two different ways. And this is true for community solar and also for community choice aggregation. So you want to just lay out a little bit of what this means.
Yep. So I think that the reason, and this is why I introduced myself the way that I did partially, is the big difference is that with opt-in, you choose, you sign up, and that's a very good way to do it. With opt-out, it allows the municipality to move everyone onto solar in one time. And the advantage of that is not only that you manage to scale solar, right? So part of our agenda in this group is how can we harness the power of collective action to really scale what we need fast enough to do something. Okay, so from an environmental perspective, the fact that a municipality can act on the part of residents, move them onto a renewable resource such as solar, and then make sure that everyone then benefits because they will get 5 to 10% off of their renewables credits, right? So everybody will see lower bills during the year. That's a huge benefit all by itself. So people see reductions in bills, and they are moved onto a renewable resource. The other thing that's really great about that is that you can begin this process with the people who will benefit most, which is the lower income population. Keep in mind that if a lower income person signs up to solar themselves, they are going to be asked to sign an attestation form that they are poor. This, I feel, lacks dignity. I don't agree with it, right? So no comment on that. What's great about this is that is not necessary. The municipality can choose the area of town. We have data, that helps there as well. And we simply make sure that those that are going to benefit most receive the benefits first. So you have the double benefit of really scaling renewables, helping this important industry to grow as fast like we need it to, and at the same time being able to be very targeted about who benefits first. And that's something that for Juul is very important.
I think that there's also, I mean, you talked about collective action, and you can do it quickly, and you can do it to scale, and you can move things faster. I think that's one concern. If we had to do an opt-in, it would be somebody having to go around to each household. It would take an enormous amount of time, and it would cost an enormous amount of money for the staff to be able to go door to door and encourage everyone to sign up. Plus, I feel like in terms of low income people, if a stranger shows up at my door, why would I trust them that they're going to do something positive for me? I don't know. So that feels like a problem. It's more costly and it's slower. But so why is the Public Service Commission suggesting this when it's clearly, I mean, I think because of the CLCPA in New York State, their whole emphasis is on that this is going to benefit low and moderate income people. And this seems to go exactly in the opposite direction.
Right. So what's happened, to give people a little bit of background information, is that on the one hand, you have the PSC has started a stakeholder process to enable this to be successful. So I think we should give everybody the credit that's due, right? Which is they're trying. They started a whole process and they're trying. And a lot of what's in the straw proposal is really good. It's sensible. It will allow the market to work. There are a couple of things that got put in there, or questions that were asked, because as a regulator, if you are heavily lobbied by an industry group, right, you are basically required to ask or suggest something, right? And
you're required.
The regulators were heavily required is a strong word, but you're pushed. If you're heavily lobbied by a group, there is pressure there to respond to that group, right? So what seems to perhaps have happened in this case is that they were heavily lobbied, and the lobby that is there is the lobby that is for the opt-in, who makes, as you said yourself, Anne, right? It's very expensive to go door to door. So there are companies that earn well from sending people door to door because it is very expensive.
Yeah.
Right. That group of companies doesn't like opt out because that becomes unnecessary most of the time.
Yeah, they lose their jobs.
You don't need it with that program. They lose their jobs. I have to say that there's no reason those companies couldn't do the same work with municipalities as well. So the opt out opportunity is open to all of us, and it's open to them also. But it would require investment on their side, and it's investment they don't want to make, right? So they have suggested to the Public Service Commission, and they have pushed very hard, that the opt-out market be capped, which means, yes, you can do it, but no, you can't succeed. Right?
Capped,
and when
tapped in terms of how many
yes. Capped in terms of the number of people, capped in terms of the amount of solar renewables that you are allowed to give to people through an opt-out mechanism. And that way, their hope is that cap will be low enough so that it doesn't succeed and they don't have the pressure. The other thing that's been pushed is that it's paid less well. So while in the budget that is already passed, there is money to pay all these programs equally, they are suggesting, no, let's pay that program less. Now, what's bad about that is
there's money in the New York State budget?
Yes, there's already money in the 10 gigawatt budget, but they're pushing and getting the regulator to ask the question, should we be paying this group less? Now, what that sets up is the completely unacceptable situation where the program that is best suited, that isn't going to be pushing people to sign attestation forms that they are poor, and isn't going to have people that are perhaps scary knock on someone's door, right? That is kept, that the thing that's going to serve low income residents and medium income residents best is limited explicitly by the state.
So there's another thing in there that I didn't understand, which is that if you're going to reach low and moderate income people, they have to, quote, be supported in 12 months. What's that about?
It's another very clever lobby move, right? So because they don't want this to succeed, they have said, let's not allow large cities to do this or towns to do it. And the best way to do that is to say, you have to cover everyone in your low to medium income, everybody you have to cover within 12 months. Now, a city like Ithaca can't build enough solar to cover the low income population in 12 months. It's not physically possible to do, right? And so it ensures that companies like mine, we will only work with rich villages, because I'm not going to be able to work with places that really have low income populations, because I won't be able to cover them in 12 months, right? And so that again ensures that you can have a market, but make sure it doesn't succeed.
So it sort of seems like in order to preserve their business model, they're almost purposefully leaving people behind.
And I don't want to accuse somebody of explicitly thinking that way, but I can say that will be the impact. That's the impact. So I'm not going to go say that I really doubt, I'm definitely not going to accuse anybody of explicitly doing that, but I absolutely can say that that's the impact.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, given that we only have, I don't know, maybe eight more years, maybe 7 more years to get this thing right. Mm-hmm. We can't take 2 years or 3 years to make this happen. We could make this happen with a flip of a switch, and we don't have 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So what's very exciting is that if they get this right, this really does help solar scale. And it really does so in a way that benefits the lowest income people first and works its way up from there. That's a very exciting opportunity. And to me, that's why it's worth fighting for, because really there's a real opportunity there.
Yeah.
And it would be great. So let's make it happen, because it's not going to be hard. Everything else is in place.
Yeah. So this also would apply to community choice aggregation.
Yes.
So for people who don't know about community choice aggregation, it's a similar thing where you aggregate all your customers, your electric customers in your municipality, whether it's a town or a city. You put them all together in one pool, and then you can negotiate, 1, to lower the price of the kilowatt hours, and 2, that it all has to be from renewables. And so it allows you some negotiating power. And that's what community choice aggregation is. And the city of Ithaca was proposing to do community choice aggregation with an opt-out model. So everybody would be initially included. And if you wanted to get out, you could, of course, get out. And the city is committed to doing the education and outreach to make sure people understand about community choice aggregation and what opt-in and opt-out means for them and how to do it. So this is not just about community solar. This is about scaling up a number of different things.
Yes. And I think it's really important to understand that the community choice aggregation program that you just described, this is another program under it. So you do community choice aggregation, you can do electricity supply, and now you can also do solar. So it really strengthens that existing program. And the thing being, it's important that that program is strengthened in a manner which promotes social justice. A, strengthened, B, strengthened in a manner which promotes social justice, right? And that's the thing that's on the line here.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that what will happen if they can cap and if they can reduce payment, what's going to happen to places like the city of Ithaca is you are going to have community groups. They could be low income community groups, right? Or the city itself that wants to build solar locally, and they will not be allowed to direct that solar in an opt-out manner to their own residents because there's going to be a cap, and it's hard to hire solar developers if you can pay them less than the going rate, right? And you'd have to figure out how to cover the whole city in 12 months, which a low income population in 12 months, which isn't possible to do either. So it's really limiting the empowerment of local groups. And that's the other big problem with it. It's a missed opportunity, but things that disempower local groups looking to do things like develop solar locally and make sure everyone benefits is a very bad stance for the state to take. It's very counterproductive.
So a couple of things. One is the city of Ithaca is considering building a solar farm south of the city. That is one of the proposals. But secondly, you suggested that it was probably the lobbying industry that put pressure on the PSC to get these questions into the straw proposal. But this seems like a basic dysfunction of our society is like, who has the access? Like, why weren't we the people who were lobbying? And the concerns that we had to be included in the proposal. Like, they seem to have priority access to the Public Service Commission that we don't have, they know about it before it gets put out locally, and they're fighting back against it, and the things that they want have to be included. I mean, it seems like that's something we need to fix.
Yeah, and I want to say that, you know, this whole effort is a bit of a journey in that this is actually the second or third really big piece of regulation that's coming through the pipes. The first one that I personally was engaged with was a complete disaster area, if I'm honest, right? Like it was aggressively, it was pretty tough.
You're trying to be generous. Tough. I can hear you.
I'm trying to be nice because I know these people work hard, right? So it was tough. And I feel like a huge amount of progress has been made, both from the perspective of being heard better and from the perspective of learning to speak. And I think the learning to speak is very important. The problem being that all of us are small. I haven't raised $100 million, and I won't, because I won't. Well, so wait, I just want to finish. It's really important that people speak. You can send a note, you can call. It doesn't have to take time, but you do have to speak. If you don't speak, no one hears you, right? So working together, and that's why I'm here, is you really have to say something. If you're not going to say anything, then you're not going to get what you need, because other people have a lot of money and they're there.
Yeah, and they have loud voices. And I mean, I want to reiterate that it's not about the individual people who are the lobbyists. It's not about the individual people whose jobs are to go door to door. It's not about bad people. It's about a bad process and a bad structure. And I think it's important to keep clear that these are not bad people. These are, it's not about the individuals. It's about the structure and the way that things are working, and things need to change. So I just think it's important to keep that in mind because of the culture that we have now in this country, where it's too easy to label people as bad or wrong or
correct.
And that's not going to get us where we need to be. So
no. And also there should be opt-in and opt-out in New York State. I mean, there are places for both, right? It's not a question of one or the other. This is a question of not explicitly capping and explicitly lowering financing for a program explicitly directed at low-income residents. Let's not do that. Right. Period. Right. It's not a question of wiping out everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do want to emphasize that that people can respond. Like you said, people can call or write a letter. So who can respond? Is it just municipalities? Is it just elected people who can respond?
No, really anyone, right? You can respond as an individual. You can respond as a group, and it can be any group. The comment period is open until June 6th. We encourage people to send in a note, whatever, before that. I am going to put up on my screen where people can respond to. I'm going to get this here. Down again. And one sec. And it will be effective, because remember that the state has put a lot of effort into this work and wants it to function well, right? Like, they want this program to be a success, and we're so close. I mean, New York State is so close. So it's a couple of decisions that are really important that they're taken correctly, and we can do a tremendous amount together. And the reason we can do that is because a lot of work and a lot of effort, among other things, from yourselves, having these conversations, getting people together, is having an impact. We've got to get it over the line when it comes to solar.
Yeah. So we don't have much time before June 6th, but
no.
So people can write notes, write letters with their concerns. They can get a hold of you for more information. I know that I saw a sheet that came out from Jewel that explained what was going on. So if people want that, they can request information, and you can send them some more information by email. So after June 6th, what's next? How is this decision made?
After June 6th, it will be behind closed doors, and we will not know how the decision is made.
And are the lobbyists behind those doors?
I would hope not. I would hope not. I think the lobby period's over. And I think as I said, the PSC's put in a lot of work into making this happen. I hope that it gets brought the entire way and is made successful.
So our entire opportunity to influence this has to happen before June 6th.
Yes, and it does not have to be a book, but it's very important that people who care about renewables and people who care about social justice and environmental justice speak. Because this is a group that you either hear from or don't hear from. And there isn't much in between. Yeah. And it's irreplaceable. So it can be as individuals, it can be as NGOs, as a place of worship. From that perspective, it's always equally important, but it's really important that people speak up so that it is clear that this isn't a money issue, it's a social justice issue, it's an environmental justice issue. The money, by the way, will be made by everyone anyway. Right. It's a question of who gets it. Let's just be clear. Would it also
be effective for people to get in touch with their elected representatives?
Yep.
At the state level or at the local level, or both?
It can be either one. You can the state level, it's very good for them to hear, and it's, you know, it's good for people to hear from the municipal level. Just to say that if these rules are put into place, the municipalities will no longer have an easy, you know, free access to solar and the ability to direct it toward residents easily. Because with the cap, you can't really plan ahead, because you could do all this planning, you could do all this work as a municipality, and then when you get there, the state quota is reached, and we're in some quota system, and that's it. You as a municipality, you can't do solar that way anymore. Or you as a community group can't do solar that way anymore. The quota's gone. It's used up. It's like being in some sort of, I don't know,
do we have any sense of the timeline about when the decision will be made, or how we'll find out?
Yes, it'll be made by mid-July. So my memory is that the meeting is July 16th.
Okay. So we should know by then whether we were successful.
Yep. Okay. And again, I just want to reiterate that the people working on this legislation are looking for it to be successful. And this is why your voice is so effective, because if they hear from you, they will act because they want it to work. But it's got to come from the community.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I liked what you said about that this is not a renewable energy problem. This is a social justice problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
we will be able to do it anyway.
Okay.
I hate to say it, I'll just direct it toward wealthy people.
Okay. Okay. Well, you can stop the screen share. I think people have had enough time to write down what they need to do. I hope people take some action. Let me just see if there was anything else in my notes that I wanted to bring up. So how will we find out in July, mid-July? How could we find out what happened?
Well, I'll be very happy to make sure to let you know.
Okay.
I will definitely let the leadership of Ithaca know. It will also be public, but regulatory documents can be a bit of a struggle to read. So we will definitely make that information available to whoever wants it. If you write me, I'll definitely make sure that we know that you find out for sure.
Okay. I'm sure that Luis and Rebecca will stay in touch with you and find out what's going on. That's great. This has been great, Jessica. I really appreciate your commitment to making this work for everybody. And I also appreciate your confidence that the people at the Public Service Commission who are putting this together really do want it to work. That
yes.
They're not just playing around. They really want it to work. And knowing that all they need is a little nudge from enough of us, that they will pay attention to that. And I think that's really good. I appreciate your emphasizing that. So thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you as well. Thank you.
Beginning of a relationship, hopefully.
Absolutely.
That we can continue. Yep. And thanks to you all for joining the Power Lunch today. As I said, this is being recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube when we're done. And I just want to remind people that this 1,000 Conversations effort for Ithaca's future is something that you can participate in directly, aside from just listening to me and Jessica talk about something. You can actually have a conversation with anybody in your family or in your workplace or in your whatever group you're a part of, and record it. And the idea is to think about that it's 2035, and we've actually done a pretty good job of meeting the demands of the climate crisis. When you look around Ithaca, what do you notice? What do you see? What happened? What did we do? And what was your role in it? So asking people to have a conversation about the kind of future that we're trying to create is what we want from the 1,000 Conversations. So if you can record even a short 5-minute, 10-minute conversation with someone, you can upload it to our YouTube page, and those conversations are available on our YouTube page for everybody to hear and see what other residents think and what people want to make happen. And this is part of that, Jessica, so thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
So until
Great
next time, thanks for being a part of it. And you can look for this recording probably by the end of the day. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.